The views expressed by Paul during this podcast are his alone and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or positions of his employer. The views expressed by Jason. Wait, dude, really? This is what you want me to read? Okay. The views expressed by Jason are his alone and frequently do not necessarily reflect reality. His opinions are often annoying, scattershot in their application, and can resemble more of a Virginia Woolf short story than a cohesive argument. He is currently undergoing therapy and rewatching Westworld Season 3 to resolve his storytelling issues.
Welcome to Season 2 of F-Size, the annoyingly award-lacking #1 cybersecurity podcast, according to Muscle Car Poetry magazine, and the most money-losing not-for-profit venture, probably this side of starting an airline.
Yeah, and F-Sides focuses on the human side of cybersecurity.
You're never going to get that down.
I never.
That
Maybe
is
Season 3 I'll practice. I'll get a voice coach or something.
We're going to bring in a voice actor to record that part for you. Yeah. Anyways, this podcast is where Paul and I discuss how to move the elephant in cybersecurity, in IT, in work, life, the universe, and everywhere. The elephant represents the human side of cybersecurity.
Yeah, and so this week we have a special episode, a very special episode of F-Sides. Both of our listeners may have heard about the recent incident on United Flight 2609 from Los Angeles to Boston earlier this week. And it's March 11th now, so the incident happened earlier this week. I know one of the passengers personally, and we happen to have that person on today's podcast. So without further ado, here's one of the passengers. So, Jason, I got a text from you on Monday. Yeah, hey Jason, how you doing? I got a text
after my flight to Boston.
Yeah, after your flight to Boston. I got a text from you on Monday, and I found out you were on the flight before it even hit the news. And you had shared, some minor, very nonchalantly, some minor details, and then the next day I start to see some of these news reports, and in the video,
yeah, the text was you won't believe,
yeah, I mean,
what just happened to me. Like, check this out.
Yeah, and when I read it, it's like, oh, okay, maybe a small little, like somebody, a minor thing, but when you see the video, it was really shocking. So, can you briefly, because I'm sure a lot of people have seen the video and so forth, but it's always good to hear firsthand. Can you share a little bit of your perspective of what happened? What you saw?
Yeah. I'll keep it short. I'll keep my story. Because again, you Google Flight 2609, Boston, Los Angeles. The video's out there. You can see what happened for yourself. But my perspective was, it was just every other flight. It was about 4 hours in. Got up to use the restroom. Heard that a door was attempted to have been opened from the flight attendants while I was in the back helping myself to some relief. Sat back down, and not out of nowhere, but the flight attendant comes up to the gentleman sitting in front of me in the middle seat, in the row in front of me, and asked him if he had, very, very calmly and professionally. Funny if you think about it now. Hey, did you happen to try to open a door? It was kind of like in that tone, and he denied it and started raising his voice and was saying, "You have security cameras," and started escalating really fast. And that's when, I had my headphones in, and it went above my headphone volume because I was watching the flight attendants talk to him, took my headphones out and started paying attention to what was going on. Started raising his voice, definitely unstable, was saying things about some biblical references. And then a very brave woman, as he's raising his voice more and more, starting to scare passengers, to be honest, was kind of scaring me. A very brave woman from a couple rows back came up and started talking to him to try to get him to calm down. And at that point, I started trying to get his attention away from her by making eye contact and talking to him, trying to calm him down. Hey, there's a lot of people that are scared on this flight. You might want to, maybe we can just bring it down a couple notches. And as soon as I had an opportunity, I read this through some negotiation tactics to get on a first name basis with him. So there was an opportunity for me to say, oh, hey, I'm Jason. What's your name? And I think we all know from the video, his name is Balthazar. That didn't help because he then told me to shut up as he was getting angrier and angrier. Not necessarily from what I was saying, just from him, and something he was getting angry about, and he started threatening the passengers, threatening he was going to kill every man on board. And it was about the time, so this was where I was just sort of monitoring what's going on. He was just standing in his place, so there wasn't a physical threat to anybody. It was just somebody being very loud and obnoxious. Mm-hmm. The point that it exited into the aisle and said the statement, "Well, since I'm taking over this plane," that's when awesome gentleman to my left named Jeff stood up and came towards him. I immediately got out and followed Jeff, and in a flurry of seconds, he rushed at the flight attendant up towards the front of the plane. What I saw was like he was stabbing them, and Jeff and I both, I was right behind Jeff, rushed up and tackled him. I grabbed the sort of his upper torso and his arm. Jeff was grabbing his midsection, and we end up subduing him and throwing him down to the floor. And at that point, about 3 or 4 other brave guys jumped in and helped us. And pretty crazy. It took a while to subdue him. He's a really strong guy. Like, it was not easy. I can appreciate what it must be like for a lot of people that are in that situation in law enforcement, but it was tough. And it took us about a good 10 to 15 minutes to get him subdued and to zip tie him so that he couldn't harm anybody else or himself. Yeah.
And everyone was okay. Like, that's the first question, right? I mean, I know you had some minor injuries. I believe
the flight attendant is okay.
Good.
So it's just a matter of, everything was okay. It was still a very scary and representative of what really may have happened more than anything. Like, what if he had a more dangerous weapon that would have inflicted more damage than a blunt spoon or a broken off spoon, a number of things. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could go through multiple scenarios, but that's definitely an eventful flight, right? So,
yes, that's a good way. It was very eventful.
Wow. Yeah. And again, I'm glad you're safe and everybody is safe. And, so again, I know that you had some minor injuries, but considering what could have happened. Yeah. So, and we don't want to spend too much time on the flight specifically, right? I know that, the thing you and I talked about afterwards, which, by the way, you were remarkably calm the whole time and very, very nonchalant. Nonchalant's not the right word. You were very low key about it. So that's something I've always respected about you, Jason. So, I mean, that you're not out there trying to, aggrandize and, make a big deal, but it is kind of a big deal. But, the thing I wanted to chat with you about is, incident response, because within cybersecurity, right, that's a high stress situation, not as high as stress as you just went through, right? Because typically it's not life and death, but it is a high stress situation. So, I want to chat with you a little bit about that. So, the first question that came to my mind after "Are you safe? Is everybody on the plane safe?" is, how did you identify that situation and kind of determine what action to take? Because, you see the video, some people took video, some people kind of, leaned back and stayed out of the fray, right? And by the way, no judgment on anybody, right? You'd never know how you're going to react on that. And you just happen to have a conversation with the person and then stand up. So, how do you assess the situation, determine what to do?
Yeah, this is such a great topic for our podcast because it has so many parallels to cybersecurity incident response, which, to be honest, was played a big role in how I reacted and why I reacted the way I did. The first step is situational awareness, just being aware of your surroundings, even with headphones in. I'm always watching, I'm looking, probably not as much as you with your military background. And out of the two of us, Paul is the more paranoid person with, I won't sit with my back.
I will agree with that. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But I am aware of things in my own right too. One of the things you mentioned, like other people not reacting, which is true. You watch the video and people have their headphones in, and it's we've become numb, in my opinion, to the mental health issues this country's going through. How many times do I walk down the streets of LA and a guy is just shouting at the top of his lungs to himself, and he's obviously, my opinion is that he's mentally unwell if somebody's going to be doing that. And they're homeless, and we just become immune to it. And I think that was one of these situations where people are just, it's another, person just being loud and obnoxious, and I'm just going to go about my day and not intervene or not do something that it's all talk. I think that's what the assessment was for most people. And that was my assessment too, was guy's just talking. Like, he's just being loud and obnoxious. Flight attendant will come and do what they're trained to do and talk him down. And, if he's upset about not having Chardonnay because all they have is Sauvignon Blanc, whatever he was upset about, I think that's what everybody was assuming. He was just loud, obnoxious, and then he would calm down.
Yeah. So
that's it really wasn't. To be honest, it wasn't stressful. It wasn't stressful. Even through it, I wasn't stressed. I was just,
really.
Okay.
That's interesting.
He's really loud. Yeah.
Let's dive into that a little bit. So, sorry, you go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. Well, even when I started engaging him, I was thinking, okay, think back to my training in negotiations, and to be honest, I mean, such a great tie-in. My training in cybersecurity incident response is remaining calm under pressure. How do I connect with this guy? How do I empathize with him? That's a leadership teaching too, is when someone, I get in meetings and people are upset, is you want to hey, let's empathize. Let's try to, understand this is just two human beings or a group of human beings talking. And that was my goal with engaging him. Was I have a big smile on my face. Hey, man, yeah, I feel for you. I empathize. I was trying to get along and like, hey, I understand what you're going through. That's got to be rough, man. That's got to be rough. And then when more times he's raising his voice, trying to get him to empathize with others by saying, there's a lot of, because he was really big about this idea of hurting men that were hurting women. So I think it was protective of women in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, there's a lot of women and children on this plane you might be scaring right now. Let's try to, maybe we could tone it down a little bit or just, talk a little bit over.
What compelled you to engage? Was it that de-escalation? Like, okay, hey, I want to de-escalate this situation and do my part.
It was the protective instincts. So it was me wanting to protect the woman, the very brave woman I mentioned earlier that came in and first started talking to him. That's when I went, okay, she can't be the only one. And brave for her because, maybe I may not have said anything if she hadn't come up and I felt that protective nature if he would have just kept babbling. But somebody would have probably said something and then I would have felt like stepping in. So it was a chain reaction. And it was a chain reaction for everybody, I think. That's what caused. It was her initial that I think said, okay, we should try to confront this person as a group in some way, or she did as individually. And then people started helping out.
Well, that's interesting because with incidents, you typically will have somebody who, when there's not leadership, somebody will take the mantle of leadership and that will compel others to want to participate and join in. And you'll start to see the organization kind of flow behind the leader, and so it sounds like that's kind of, you saw somebody take action. You were taking action too, right? But you saw somebody take physical action, like in the walking in the aisle and trying to, engage and talk. And that compelled you. So, the thing that's interesting to me is when I look at the video, I see you get up immediately. Right. And that's that, just like incident response, you made a decision to do something, for incident response. It could be, I'm going to make a decision to shut the network down, or I'm going to make a decision to not shut the network down. Like there's decisions that you're making.
Can we nerd out on what that phase of incident response is called?
Yeah.
I do it. This is the whole point of my podcast is, the first phase is analysis, right?
Mm-hmm.
You analyze what the heck is going on in this incident, whether it's a cybersecurity incident or this real world analysis. That's what I was doing. I was analyzing the situation. What's going on? Is he a threat? Is he not a threat? Okay, he's a little bit of a threat. Let me try to engage and get a sense of, what's going on and calm it down and see if that's the analysis and analyzing. And as soon as it became, and this could happen in a cybersecurity incident, there's something bad is going to happen to our systems, the people on the plane itself. The next step you do is containment. That's an incident response, is contain what's happening as best you can. And that was the same thing with this. As soon as he got up and went to the plane, followed the guy, Jeff, we both worked on containment. Let's restrict his movement, get him down so that he can't do further harm. And the focus was for that good 5 to 10 minutes was on containment. And that's the priority of any incident response. Mm-hmm. After you get the analysis staged, once you figure what bad is happening, you focus on containment.
Yeah, because the thing I noticed was you changed your responses based off of the situation, right? Which something you see in incident response sometimes is people will commit to a course of action and stay on that course of action, even when environmental factors or other information come in that say, hey, maybe you need to adjust or whatnot. So,
it's that loop, that feedback loop to analysis. Yeah. Analysis will change. Containment phases may change. What you're containing may change. But that's just, sounds really cheesy saying cybersecurity incident response, help me with this, but it absolutely did. Like it's the training, the stress I've been in, and the being able to think smart during an incident. Not all of us are fortunate enough to do that. You've had military training, so you've had a leg up from me. I don't have any law enforcement training. I don't have any military training. To be honest, the only training I have for stuff like this is in cybersecurity. And I think it really helped me here.
I would agree, right? Everything you do impacts every other thing you do, right? So if you're always thinking about like, how do I react to stress situations, and that's on your mind, it will help you, right? So, so the thing
it's
practice. Oh, go ahead.
Practice, right?
Yeah.
That's why we talk about in cybersecurity incident response, this idea of tabletop exercises.
Yeah.
Which may sound like it almost is as silly as a bunch of people sitting around playing Dungeons and Dragons because you're role playing this event of something bad happening to your company and happening to your systems. But it is so important because that's sometimes the only practice you're going to get. And you told me once, what is the term in the military when you're training? Train like you fight.
Oh
right?
yeah. So in the military, it's train in the conditions that you expect to conduct operations in, right? So if it's raining outside, you don't stop operations, you keep going. Or if you're in the field and you don't have flushing toilets and running water, right? You deal with what you got. So one thing I was thinking about, Jason, is how did you manage stress in that situation?
Yeah.
And you weren't consciously thinking about it. I know you weren't like, okay, how do I manage my stress? Do I do this and that? But how do you think you manage stress?
I have an idea of it. You'd have to probably dissect my brain to figure out, but it goes back to the incident response training. So the last fight I was in was like in the 6th grade. I'm not joking. Like, and honestly, if you're, unless you have anger management issues or you're the unluckiest bar patron in the world, getting in bar fights or getting in fights just isn't something a normal adult male should be faced with, right? Or maybe your training is Jake Gyllenhaal stunt double in the new Roadhouse movie. But I haven't, I just don't get in fights. I'm a big dude, take care of myself. I'm quiet, I'm nice. Stuff just doesn't happen like that. So I don't have this training of how to have a physical altercation with someone. But I absolutely believe it's my cybersecurity incident response. What I've been through. I've been through incidents. I've been through stressful situations where things are happening at a fast pace. There's a fear of the unknown. You don't know what's going on. You've got a lot of stuff going on at once, and it's, to be honest, incidents to me were I was probably more stressed out in cybersecurity incidents than I was in this incident. But it absolutely is that training and that incident response that helped me here. I'm not joking about that.
Yeah, why do you think you're more? And I have a thought, but why do you think you were less stressed? Was it because the time frame was so compressed that you didn't have time to think and be stressed?
So that's true. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, I would have." You listen to the commentators on Instagram and even some of the Comedy Central is the Daily Show one. It's like, "Oh, he only had a spoon." Like I didn't even know he had a weapon. It was him doing this stabbing motion at the flight attendant that raised that was okay. That's really bad. Not only were we going towards him, I didn't know I was going to tackle him until I saw that stabbing motion, and I didn't know he had a weapon or not. So no, there wasn't it was, and it was almost matter of fact. Okay, here's what's happening. Here's what I need to do. Here's what's happening. Here's what I need to do. And you ask about the calm part again. It's that putting yourself in stressful situations will help you remain calm. It's like you said, train like you fight. This goes on with cybersecurity incident response. When you're doing a tabletop, and if you're lucky enough to get in on one, if you're a cybersecurity practitioner, or sometimes you'll work at HR and you'll be invited to one, or you work in finance and you'll be invited to one, take it as real as you can. You role play in your own head to put yourself as close to that stressful situation. And the more realistic you can get in your head, the better that tabletop is going to be. I have a training simulation I do with all my teams. It's a simulation of climbing Mount Everest. And it's a training simulation about leadership. It's actually fantastic. If anybody wants to know about it, hit me up. It's one of the best leadership training and team management and team trainings you can do. You virtually as a team climb Mount Everest. And it works so great when you lose yourself in it. When you imagine, all right, I've had people dress up. I'm going to bring my little ice pick, and we're going to
kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. But
okay. Because if nothing is at stake, if it's all just a video game, think about if you play video games, think how much you're your heart races and you're into it. So the more you can immerse yourself into the tabletop, the more prepared you're going to be, because it will simulate a stressful situation. And I absolutely believe the reason why I didn't panic and stress out and faint was because of my cybersecurity incident response training over the years and the incidents I've been in.
Well, one thing that people often forget about in incidents is coming down after the incident, the recovery portion. So, how did you come down from the
Actually,
incident?
there was an analogy before that. There's a step before the recovery. So it starts with, the analysis, preparation, just make sure you're prepared, which is having a plan. Then there's the analysis when the incident first starts and you're getting all the data gathering. There's containment. Then there's eradication. And that's ensuring that whatever happened can't happen more or spread. It's a little loose of an analogy here, but I think we actually did that. After we had him contained and pinned to the ground, we went through his pockets to remove any weapons or anything else he may have had that could have harmed someone. And to me, that was kind of that eradication phase of where, all right, we've got it contained. He's set. Let's make sure there's nothing more bad that can happen from this initial incident that we've contained. And that was everybody going through his pockets, handing it over to the flight attendant so he could gather it up for evidence later. we found some stuff on him. We're like, oh, grab this out. And that was that eradication phase. And then the recovery phase, what you're talking about is, well, for me, it was probably a couple glasses of wine that night. I'm kidding.
Yeah. I was going to say, you seem very cognizant when we were talking or when you were texting me. So, but yeah, I mean, recovery, even after an incident, people don't think the recovery portion. And by the way, recovery includes gathering information, understanding what happened so that you can learn from it, lessons learned. Now, I'm in information security, it's, you need that more probably than this, because hopefully you never have this type of situation again. But
you do it. You do it in this. I found myself doing that. What would I have done different? Absolutely. I was questioning that. Maybe I should have gotten up sooner. What if I had engaged him earlier? If I said something different? Yeah, absolutely. And that's, it's almost human nature, right? We always look back at our actions and think, oh, what could I have done differently? That is the recovery phase. It's that after action report. That's a military term, correct?
After action used often. Yes, that is the military term for it. I think a lot of people use it besides military, but yeah.
I call them that. They're called retros sometimes for sprints, and this idea of, hey, let's all sit around and talk about, we had this incident. Let's see, how did it go? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What could we do better? And I did that definitely myself in this situation and thought, like, all right, how could I have, changed the situation? For one, communication was key for the team. So while this wouldn't have happened if everyone didn't act together. I want to be clear on that. Like, it was not me. It wasn't the guy next to me. It wasn't the brave one to my left. It was all of us together acting as a team. I'm going to give a quote to, so I'm a Star Trek guy and a Star Wars guy.
No, really? That's actually shocking to me.
Literally coincidentally, there's this fantastic quote that sums up what happened here on Picard season 3. It was 2 nights ago. The latest episode. You're only really ever as good as those around you.
Yeah.
I was like, what timing for this quote on Picard 3 to come out? Because that is exactly what happened in this situation. We were all, because we worked as a team and worked together, that was what allowed us to subdue and take control of the situation. Not one of us could have done anything on our own.
Well, and that's interesting because incident response the same way. It's not just security. It's your partners in operations. It's leadership making decisions. Now imagine
if we were able to train ahead of time and even just one, hey, okay, everybody, let's walk through if somebody does this. Oh, wow. The response would have been even, it was great as it was, but imagine, we probably could have de-escalated or done something before even, attacked the flight attendant if we had even just a little bit of training as a team. So again, that importance of like why tabletops and why training. Maybe you're not having incidents, but at least doing training, pretending that you're having incidents in a tabletop is crucial.
Well, and I'm a big advocate for tabletops. So, that's good to hear that, that type of training helped you as well. And, it's helped me over my career as well. So, well, what would you leave us with, Jason? Like, as we're kind of wrapping up here, like what wisdom would you impart on us, or what would you say? Like, you went through a lot in this week. So what's your thoughts?
Man, nothing beats being in a fire to be prepared for a fire. And if you can't be in the fire, for cybersecurity incident response, maybe things are slow at your company and just, you're great because there's no real incidents. You're running a great program and just nothing ever happens, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. That is a great thing if you work security, but you want to be prepared when it does and if and when it does. So train, practice. Because and we don't even say if anymore. We say when you're going to get breached, when you're going to get hacked, when something bad is going to happen, the better prepared you are, the more calm you're going to be facing it, and the better outcome you're going to have for the incident.
Great. Well,
and I want to, before we go, there's, you almost got onto it, is the importance of communication during an incident. Yeah. So, we obviously were not talking to each other but as soon as he was on the ground and we're in the containment phase, we were talking. I was saying, you'll even hear me on the video, I got his arm. Intoning that, all right, everybody, and my messaging was, everybody grab a limb. We got 5 of us. I can easily hold down an arm by myself. Holding him down by myself, not so much. But if we separate our duties, that was the intent. And we were talking the entire time to each other. Okay, I got his left arm. He's moving here. Get this. Oh, okay. Who's got the zip ties? Go get the zip ties. We got the zip ties are coming. His leg's moving. Grab his left leg. Move this. And we were talking as a team and communicating. That is absolutely critical during an incident. If you've ever been on an incident, I don't know if in your experience you have, because you run great teams, but I've come into teams where it's crickets, and I'll be for 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
that's a bad incident response. You want continuous chatter. You want, even if it's just saying, "Yep, I'm still working through this." As somebody running it, you're going to be okay. You're working on this. You're working on this. You're working on this. Getting continuous status, even if you're just somebody's doing an analysis on a log file every 5 minutes, chirping in and go, "Still working on the log file analysis."
Mm-hmm.
Like you want that chatter, you want that continuous communication, and the worst for incident response is not communicating and not talking.
Agreed, and coherent communications, right? Because that's the other thing. Under stress situations, you can lose, your coherency. When you do first aid training, they always say don't yell. Someone call 911, right, or whatever it used to be. They say you point at somebody and say call 911, because in stress situations, people would accidentally call or look at the phone, and they're smart people. They would just be, "Where's the 11?" Right, because again, your mind's not operating in the way it normally does because you're under stress. So it's great that you had a flight of people who were able to communicate effectively, handle stress, and manage stress effectively. So
that's critical. Another thing I do on our incidents is I actually try to, as much as I can, because our podcast has some humor in it. Mm-hmm. They don't always hit. I do that during incidents. Is keep it light. Keep it so people aren't stressed out like the world is ending or the company's going to go up in flames. It's like, hey man, this is just an everyday exercise. How you doing? You doing okay? Take pause. Go get a coffee. Make sure you as a leader, or even as just if you're not the leader, you're on the team, messaging that continuous. Everything's okay. Everything's going to be fine. We're just doing what we do, and maintaining that calm presence to keep people from being, I got to get this out. I got to get this out.
And you can't be under stress all the time either, right? Even in the military where you train for it, it's like you have to have rest and recreation. You have to leave the field of battle and recovery. So just like this, you have to recover.
An extra couple minutes of breathing and an extra 5 or 10 minutes to take a break is not going to be the end all be all. And I got the executive asking me, the VP needs this right away. You know what? The VP can wait.
Yeah.
he can chill out for 5 or 10 minutes. And that's your executives, your CISO's job, or whoever your job is to interface with the executives, to tell them, to say, we're working on it. We got this. I'll let you know as soon as we can. And, take that pressure off the incident team. And, nothing ever needs to be done that fast where you're going to be stressed about the speed at which you need to operate.
But we should actually do a podcast season 3 on tabletops and incident response. But, one of the things with that is if you set expectations, say, hey, we'll get you an update in an hour, right? Then people back off, right? Once they understand what the requirements or what you're going to do, it helps, right? Like you said in that situation, hey, I got this. I need who's going to go get this, right? Like it was clear who would need to do what. So, well, good. Well, you wanted to talk about this. For the viewers of our podcast who are especially watchful, you may have noticed that we've only done 9 episodes this season. And we also were supposed to do question answers.
And then we were going to do 8. And then Last of Us outdid us by 1 episode. So we had to match. Be like, well, they're going to do 9. We're going to do 9. So we're doing 9. Are we doing a 10? Yep. What do you think?
Well, RSA is coming up, so maybe we do one from there. Or maybe we start season 3 from there. We'll see. From a
reflection. Yeah, I have strong opinions on RSA. I haven't been in so long. I'm excited to go because I want to know if it's changed and it's actually exciting or it's just a mind-numbing experience. We'll see.
Yeah,
I think I just made the decision. We're going to do one. Either at season 3 and our reflection.
We should just do it. Because I haven't been to RSA in like 5 years. So are
you going? Because I'm going. That's so sweet.
Yeah, it's just for you. And I'm going to be wearing this shirt the whole time. I'm not going to change it. In fact, I'm only taking one shirt.
Good. You got a good coffee stain going on it too.
Oh yeah,
so you can see that you haven't changed it.
Oh yeah, no, I'll add a new coffee stain like this is Monday, this is Tuesday, right? So it's clear what day it is.
It builds up. Nice.
So the viewer questions, you wanted to address that when we talked earlier.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So our 2 listeners out there have submitted some questions, and we're at this time we don't have enough of a bank to do a full episode, so we might get to them in season 3. So anyone who did submit a question, we're working on it. we have our back office. I have my people talking to Paul's people. They're talking to each other. We've got activity on it, and we're going to look at the questions. But unfortunately, we will not be actually reading the questions out on this season.
Well, hey, with that, I think we are at the end of our podcast. So, Jason, you usually take us out. So, give us something.
I do. What's the?
I'm making that up now.
On the spot,
Jason,
man.
Well, because I don't want to have to do it. I'm bad at that.
Fly the friendly skies. Flying is still the safest form of transportation. It's safer than driving a car. Safer than trains lately, especially with the news. But
that's.
Don't be afraid to fly. And this was not something that, in my opinion, really is hard to prevent. Just some people are going to go crazy, and just happens. So
all right.
Keep flying. Be safe out there.
Well, thanks everyone. We will see you probably season 3, maybe episode 10 of season 2. Jason and I will figure it out. So
don't you just love how organized we are? This is great.
This is super organized. So all right, everyone. Thank you.
It's the elephant